Well, hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing great. Happy February. Hope everyone's feeling okay. And I happen to see in the comments everyone's got good beverage going on. I've got some tea. I'm drinking Tulsi tea today. So I saw some interesting drinks. I saw some water. I saw some coffee with honey. And I saw, what was the other one that I saw? Something with vanilla cinnamon. Oh, here we go. Coffee with French vanilla creamer and cinnamon. All right. So how's everybody? I don't know if everybody knows this, but I just got over COVID. So I had COVID last month. I actually fell down with it right after the last power hour. And I was it hit my whole family. So we were all out of commission for like a week and a half. I'm back to 100%. We're all doing okay, but I was starting to get a little worried about the power hour this month. But I'm glad that I'm feeling better and able to hit it. So how's everybody doing? Just wanting to check in on folks here. Everyone's doing okay. Yeah, thank you for the well wishes. I appreciate everybody's well wishes during the time I had COVID. I didn't really get a whole lot of writing done for like 3 or 4 days, but then I went back into beast mode when I got when I got better. So it's all good. All right. Well, I saw everyone's working on something here, so that is a good thing. If there are any new people, I would love to know. So if this is your first time at a power hour, please let me know and I will give you a shout out. Just to go over the rules. If anybody hasn't been to a power hour recently, we are going to, in a few minutes, I will put on a screen and a timer for 20 minutes, and we will write together as a community for 20 minutes. And then at the end of that 20 minutes, we will come back and I will answer any questions that you all have about writing, about business of writing, marketing, whatever. You all know the drill. And then we'll do that for about 5 minutes. And then we'll go back into another writing session, debrief for about 5 minutes, and then have a final writing session, all 20 minutes each. And then after that, we'll just chill out, have some fun. And I stay on these live streams until I've answered all of your all's questions. So if you got any burning questions, anything you want to know, you want my opinions on, just please let me know and I'd be happy to answer it. All right. Something I mentioned last month that I know that a fair amount of you were interested in. So I just want to let you know that it is now available. I have a new book and it is called the Author Estate Handbook. Can't remember the names of my own books. All right. So this is the estate planning book that I was talking about last month. Several of you said that you were interested. I've sent out an email list blast to let people know about it. I've talked about it on my social media networks, but this is the book essentially that will help you plan for what will happen to your books after you die. So when you think about estate planning, generally, you think about your own death and a will and trusts and all that good stuff. But then we forget about the writing side and what happens to your copyrights. And if you don't take some necessary steps to protect your copyrights and make sure they get passed down correctly, there can be some unfortunate consequences. So this book will hold your hand and help you through the process of figuring out what it is that you need to do to make sure that your family and your heirs can continue earning income from your books after you're gone. And we'll talk about a lot of stuff like passwords, what happens to your bank accounts when you die, what happens to the different book retailers. I actually did a survey of book retailers and just asked them point blank, what do you do when an author dies? All that is in there for all the major book retailers. Some of that will be a little eye-opening. And then I've just got a lot of other stuff that you want to think about. And it also comes with a Excel spreadsheet that is a planner. So if any of you have been overwhelmed and are like, oh my God, I just don't know how to wrangle all these pieces together, I've got a free Excel spreadsheet template for you in there as well. So just get your copy there, authorlevelup.com/estate. Just want to make you all know that that's available. All right. And yeah, thank you everybody for the well wishes. I appreciate it. Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, that's for sure. I don't have any like long-term side effects or anything, which is good. But I have my vaccine and booster, so all is good there. So why don't we do this? It is 10:04. Let's jump into our first writing session. And I just want to let everybody know I did take some feedback from all of you in terms of what you want to see moving forward. So I have updated the graphics of these power hours moving forward. So when we go to when we go to the writing timer, I'm actually going to have some music, and I'm going to have a nice relaxing image on the screen. And then I'm going to be very tiny in the corner, so you're not staring at my face the whole time for these power hours. I don't know. There's just something about that always bothered me, but I never really figured out how to do it until now. So for those of you who are watching on a replay, or if you ever want to replay these videos, then there's some nice relaxing music that you can listen to, and it'll just make it more enjoyable. And if you don't want to listen to the music, just mute for the 20 minutes that we're doing it. All right. So I'm going to get the timer on the screen. I want your all's feedback. You let me know what you think of this new format. I certainly would appreciate that. And let's get the timer on the screen here. And you can't see me for a moment, but I'll be back in a second. And let's start going. So let's start writing, and hope everybody has a good writing session. All right. Hope everybody had a good writing session. Saw some feedback in the comments. Sounds like folks like the music, so that's good that that's a hit. Appreciate that, and hopefully it increases the replay value for folks who are watching after the fact, because I recognize that, yeah. Anyway, I got that music. You probably saw it on the screen, but I got the music from a record label called Chill Hop Music. And if you've ever heard or watched like lo-fi chill out music on YouTube, you know, there's a certain vibe and aesthetic. And this record label, that's all that they make. And they have a program where YouTube creators can actually sign up, and they will link basically they give you their entire or most of their record label catalog, and you're able to stream it as long as you give them credit and as long as you connect your YouTube channel to theirs, so that they can whitelist you and all that stuff. So big thing for me anytime I'm using content and stuff is just making sure that I've got the copyright clearance and all that good stuff. And I got the art from Unsplash, so we are all good to go. All right. Let's see. Oh, and I did notice that we have some new people here. I saw at least 2 new people. So please say hello to all the new people who are here. And hopefully my new folks, if you came after the introduction and explaining what we do, hopefully you got the picture now. we get together and we write as a community for a while. So I want to know what everyone wrote. Let me know what your word counts are. Okay, so let me know what your word counts are here, okay? And then Nicholas, I saw your comment. Thank you. I did forget to do a reminder, so I will be sure to also do a reminder. I may come up with some way to do like a audible cue or something like that. But definitely want folks to get into some deep work, so good stuff. So Nicholas, 764. Okay, for some reason it's not letting me. Let's see here. All right. Okay, there we go. Let's see if I can get. There we go. There we go. Yeah, this program I'm using, I updated it last month, and it's giving me all sorts of hash brown heck right now. So, okay, Nicholas, 764 editing. Okay, Ty, 120 words. Not bad at all. Anything is a good start. I actually got like 10 words because my designer sent me something, and I had to stop what I was doing to take care of that and send them a message. So, all right, Rachel T says, I love chill hop and lo-fi. 25 words this round, trying to figure out where the next scene goes. Hey, nothing wrong with that. All right, Deborah, 466 words. Edwin, 310. All right, David, finishing up on a strange project. It is about 250 words, but it took some time. All right, Amy, I was new last month, but I welcome the new folks. Yes, well, welcome the second time, Amy. And then, let's see. Daniel, returning for a second time. I was writing in CU live in my pause. I'm writing a tabletop RPG. Cool. I don't think we've had anyone here write tabletop RPGs, so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see the diversity of stuff everyone's reading or writing. All right. Amy, 499. Very, very nice. Oh, okay. Yeah, Haley, love Chill Hop. Found them during grad school and continue to work from home and writing. Yeah, they got some really cool stuff. I like their vibe. I'm a big jazz chord guy, and I like how prominent jazz chords are in their music. It's pretty refreshing. All right, Jarius, 249 words. Glad to be here. Glad to have you here, Jarius. All right, Ty, thank you. I love these power hours. Makes me feel like I'm part of a writing community. Well, we are a writing community, and we're a community that has to support each other. All right, so Wanjiru, 286 only. All right, K-Max, like that name, 148. And then S Rose, 387 words. Finished a chapter I have been stuck on. And then Haley, 150 words, settling and thinking about lunch. Yeah, I had to eat myself a quick bowl of oatmeal because usually by the end of these I get pretty hungry. All right, so there was something else I wanted to talk about, but that's right, that's what I was going to talk about. So I've been talking for a little bit. I keep saying it, but it hasn't happened yet. But it's going to happen very soon. I am coming back to YouTube with regular programmed content. So I've kind of kept the channel alive with these power hours, and it's been great. And I'm going to continue to do them. But I got to get back to regular content. And now that I've got law school way behind me, I've got some things kind of organized and cleaned up in my own personal life and writing life. I'm in a really good spot. So I'm going to start doing regular YouTube content again. And it's going to be a little different. Not the content's not going to be different, but I'm not going to have an editor for a little while. I'm going to go back to doing it myself just for a time, because I do want to kind of streamline my processes. So one of the things that I've been, I don't know, I've kind of been struggling with over the last few months is that like I've got these like different skill sets. So like I've got, like I can write a book like super fast, like blazing fast. But then when it comes to YouTube, I feel like it takes me longer to come up with videos. And I realized, and it took me a while to realize this, but that I was suffering from perfectionism. And that's what was stopping me from getting back to YouTube for a while, because I kept thinking, well, I got to get another editor. Bless my editor's heart, we had to part ways just because timing and scheduling and all that stuff. And I thought, okay, I got to keep on doing what I was doing. And I realized that, it's really just as simple as turn on my camera, pressing record, and speaking what's on my mind, right? And so it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like I've conquered perfectionism in a lot of areas of my life, but here it is, and have to deal with it. So if you're dealing with perfectionism, here is your reminder and your warning that it kind of creeps into your life in ways that you don't realize. So I got to get a haircut first. Once I get a haircut, I'll be back to regular YouTube. It's the only thing stopping me. All right. Carried, thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat. Yes, new videos, and got some stuff coming. A lot of you have been asking about Atticus, so I think it's time to do a review of that. And I actually have another idea to do I don't know if it's going to work or not, but do a review, like a mega review, but like a comparison between Atticus and Vellum, like another SmackDown video. We'll see what happens. All right, let's see, Tammy. A bit slow today. I was a bit distracted. All right. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with questions, or nothing wrong with no questions. I'm assuming it's because everyone is in a deep trance and you're wanting to get back to the writing session. All right. So for the new people, just want to let you know that I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have, anything you want to know from me about writing or what I'm dealing with, that sort of thing. Just be sure to put it in the comments, and I will be sure to get to it. All right, so why don't we do this, folks? Let's get to the next writing session here. So I'm gonna throw 20 more minutes on the clock, and then I'm gonna change the image here. All right, everybody, we got about 3 minutes left before we come back. 3 minutes left. All right, everybody. Hope everyone had a great writing session. And let me know what your word counts are. And in the meantime, I'll go through some of the comments that came through. And let's see here. All right. I did want to address one thing that kind of came through, and that was from Tammy. Says, I'm revising, not sure how to put a number on what I just accomplished. So my thought on it, and I posted this in the comments. I don't know if you saw it or not, Tammy. My thought is, I'm a big fan of new words. So new words meaning new words on the page that push the manuscript forward. If I'm revising, and let's just say you write like a 500 word section and you revise it down to 400 words, well, you've just kind of taken out 100 words. So you're not really moving forward, but you're not moving backward. I think that's the big thing. As long as you don't slip back into like rewriting or, scrapping your manuscript and starting again, I still think it's progress. But I consider any new words to be like the progress. So like for me, if I wrote a 500 word section and I went back and revised it and it turned into a 600 word session, then I would net the 100 words. That's just my opinion. You could tell me I'm full of beans, but that's just kind of how I think about it, because it just trains me to focus on the new words, and that helps a lot. All right, let's see. Okay, Rachel T says I'm still fuzzy on the logical steps for self-publishing. Yeah, it's there are some steps, especially if you've never done it the first time, or if it's your first time publishing. If you're familiar with the Alliance of Independent Authors, they actually have it, it's like a it's like a philosophy that there's 7 stages of publishing, and if you think about a book as progressing through these 7 stages, then you'll do better. So I'm going to try to name the 7 stages. Hopefully, I don't have a politician moment where I only say 6. But essentially, the first stage is writing your book. So getting the words down on the page. That's the first stage. The second stage is editorial. So once you've finished the book and you've self-revised it, gone through self-revision, then you get it off to an editor or a couple of editors who give you feedback on the book and help you strengthen it from an editorial perspective. Then at that point, you enter the production stage. And the production stage is where you take the raw or the finished manuscript that has been edited, and then you package it. So you package it with a book cover. So you work with a cover designer, and then you package it with your formatting. So if you have a formatting app, or if you do any kind of ebook or paperback formatting, that's when you do that. And then you also package it with a book description and figuring out what the actual sales page packaging is going to be. It's kind of marketing, but also I consider it part of the production process. And then once you get out of the production process, then you move into the distribution process, or the publication / distribution. And that's when you upload your book to all the different retailers. You figure out which retailers you're going to sell your book at. So, are you going to be exclusive to Amazon, or are you going to try to maximize your distribution? So like I publish on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, Barnes & Noble, Draft to Digital, Google Play, Publish Drive, StreetLib, Smashwords, and then those places get me into all sorts of other places. So you think about maximizing your distribution, and that's where you try to figure all of that out. Then once you've gotten the book published and you've got it into the distribution channels, then you move into marketing. And marketing is its own phase distinct from promotion, because marketing is how you help people find. It's basically, Joanna Penn gave the best description of marketing that I've ever heard, which is marketing is letting people who are interested in your book know that it exists so that they can buy it. So as I said, book description, sales page stuff, keywords, categories, positioning, thinking about how you can position a book on your website. All these things are marketing. It's kind of like tip of the ice or below the iceberg stuff, right? And that's how you let people know that the book exists. Then you move into promotion. And promotion is when you are more active. So you're actively pushing your book on people. When I say push, I don't mean it that way, but you're putting the book out there so that all the work that you've done in marketing will help people buy your book. So like for example, at the very beginning of this, I did like a little graphic with my author estate handbook. That would be an example of promotion. But if you go to that link that I shared with you, that takes you to a site called Books to Read, and that basically gives you all the different links of where you can buy the book. So in ebook and paperback, so you can click on the Amazon link, you can click on the Apple link, you can click on Kobo. That the Books to Read stuff is an example of marketing, because that basically, once you you go to my link, then I've made it possible so that you can buy the book anywhere. That's kind of how marketing and promotion work together. And then the 7th stage is, which I hope that's 7, but the 7th stage is the stage where it's kind of perpetual. It just kind of always exists. And that is rights licensing. So if you want to license your rights to someone or create additional formats of the book or do things like that, finding ways to exploit your copyright, that's how the rights licensing stage works. And that's where you can really make a lot of money if you understand copyright and if you understand business. So I hope that was 7 stages: writing, editorial, production, distribution / publication, marketing, promotion, and rights licensing. So I didn't embarrass myself today. So those are the 7 stages. And Rachel, if you're interested, I've got a book. It's called 150 Self-Publishing Questions Answered. It actually goes through those 7 stages of publishing and answers the most common questions. I'll post a link to that in the comments. It's authorlevelup.com/150 if you are interested in checking that out. That'll help you with just walking through the steps of the process. But it's good stuff. You only publish your first book once, right? All right. And Wanjiru says perfectionism. That's me. That's a big issue. Yeah, it is a big issue, and it's one of those things where once you figure out how to beat it, it comes back into your life in a different form, in a different format. And if you learn how to recognize it, then you can continue to beat it, but it'll keep coming back. And that's the issue that I have. I basically have no perfectionism problems when I'm producing a book. None whatsoever. In fact, I'm probably going to finish this current book I'm writing. I'm probably going to finish it like next week. And it's going to be a 50,000 word novel. So I don't have any perfectionism on that side, but other areas of my life, maybe, it's certainly with the YouTube piece. So it's one of those things you just got to keep an eye on because it will come back. All right. So let's see how everyone did here. Let's see here. All right. Rachel T 219, Deborah 512, Donady 518. Working on my first draft. Really felt in the zone. Very awesome. Very glad to hear that. That's what we want. And Nicholas 938, editing probably less than 100 new words. That's okay. Like I said, you're still making progress. And Ty 122 words here. Let's see here. And then Haley, 193. This is my first attempt at a novel. Trying to figure it all out. But hey, you're making progress, it sounds like. And then Isabella, hello. Welcome. Let's see. Oh, Rachel T, pushing like finding new people who may or may not want to read your book, or just making it more available. When I was talking about promotion, it's a mixture of both. So like what I probably should have mentioned in promotion is also Amazon ads or Facebook ads. So you're finding new people, but then if you've done the right work in the marketing phase to signal to people that this book is actually to them, when they click on it, they're going to be more likely to buy it. Because that's the worst thing you can do is go off and find new people, but you haven't done the messaging right, and then they don't click on the book or buy it because you didn't do the right work to signal. And I'm no exception. In the beginning of my career, I really screwed that up for my first lot of books. All right, so I would just think about the marketing. I always describe it as an iceberg. Marketing is everything you do below the surface, and then the promotion is just the tip of the iceberg. It's everything that people see. All right. Okay, Wanjiru, question. Love the Author Estate Handbook. Want to recommend it to my author subscribers. Appreciate that. Do you know what I can recommend for non-authors? Something as down-to-earth as your book. There are definitely books out there. I read quite a few of them as part of my research. I wouldn't say my book is a little unique because it is super dialed in toward authors. Most of the estate books on the market are written by attorneys. And that's a blessing and a curse, right? Because you want an attorney to help you with this because you can't do this stuff without an attorney. Like the point in my book was I'm just helping you understand what the issues are so that you can discuss those with a qualified legal counsel, financial advisor or accountant. I would say check out the Nolo Press books. Those are really, really good books. I think one of them is called Estate Planning Basics, and that's more of a general book. There's another one. It's called I think it's called Estate Planning in Plain English. It's by a guy named Leonard Duboff. That was a really good book too, and he does a really good job of just kind of breaking things down into different categories that you need to understand. So those are just 2 off the top of my head. And that I would recommend for non-authors. But there's lots of good stuff out there. Oh, Haley keeps hearing rights licensing rather than rights licensing. That's what happens when you do these power hours early in the morning. Your brain and tongue don't always work in tandem. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Nicholas, for posting that below. Appreciate it. All right. PB Jelly, just found your channel. I was traditionally published, but left for several years and recently returned. Thank you for the information and assistance. Well, hey, thank you. Thank you for watching the channel. Yeah, Rachel, that's exactly it. Marketing is the foundation. Promotion is actively driving people to the foundation. All right. Sig Newton, what is your best advice for finding beta readers? I actually have a video on beta readers on my channel. I'll see if I can grab a link to it maybe during the next writing session. But just go to my channel or just type in beta readers author level up and you'll see it. And it's called The Ultimate Guide to Beta Readers. So there's pretty much everything you need to know is in that video. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Phonique. I just want to thank you because seeing you be consistent with your work inspired me to get back to the grind and stop procrastinating. Well, thank you. And keep at it. Keep at it. Procrastination is definitely one of the biggest issues we have. All right. Krish, my main character gets motivated after a character's death, but there are a few things which need to happen in order for us to reach that point. Before that death, the protagonist doesn't feel motivated enough. Don't know what your question is, but sounds interesting. All right, let's get to our next and final writing session, everybody. So we'll get to it here, and I'll change the art, and I'll remember to come on and give everybody a warning here. All right, so let's get to it. Happy writing, and we'll be back about 11:27. right, everybody, about 3 minutes left, and then we'll be back for our final debrief. 3 minutes left. All right. Hope everybody had a good writing session. Let me know, how did your writing session go? I want to know what your word counts were. My word counts I'm at 1,000 words for the day. I'm a little behind. That's because I had to start. I had a cover designer or a designer reach out to me. He needed help with something, and I always like to get back to them as soon as possible. So I missed out on the first writing session, unfortunately. But I'll make up for it today. I'm actually trying to hit 6,000 words today because I had a pretty low writing day yesterday. So if I hit 6,000 today, that should put me on a pretty good track. And I should be able to finish my Good Necromancer book probably by Wednesday or Thursday at this rate. So pretty smooth sailing on this book I'm writing right now. So let's see here. Okay, we had a lot of questions come in over the break. So let's see here. First up is Wylan. Are there any genres, subgenres that you've never written in but considered trying out? Space fantasy, steampunk, horror, superheroes. Yeah, there's a few. I would like to get back to science fiction at some point. I had this idea to write like a futuristic, more like a futuristic sci-fi, but not like what I wrote with my Android X series. So something a little different, something a little bit more realistic. I've kind of had that thought. There is I don't know. There's other genres that I would like to write in. I mean, I would like to write a thriller at some point, like a straight up thriller, like no magic, no supernatural stuff, just people getting by and trying to figure out how to save the world. That's something I want to write, but Again, it just comes down to time. And I would like to write a romance at some point, write a couple of romance novels or series. Just for the fun of it, just to get the experience, I think would be fun. But yeah, there's always something I'm going to write, Wylan. It's just a matter of time. All right. Let's see. Ty asks, question when writing into the dark, how do you solve the problem of chapters that aren't fitting right? I'd have to change the order of events or delete a chapter. Yeah, I would say it happens. It happens. Follow your gut. Sometimes what I would say is figure out a way to fix the problem with as few steps as possible. So sometimes chapters just don't fit because of a couple sentences or a couple paragraphs at the beginning or at the end of the chapters. If that's a situation you're in, which it doesn't sound like it is, but if that's a situation, try that. If you do have to move stuff around, that's okay too. Just make sure you're not spending, a whole lot of time doing that, because it's going to delay your process and it'll introduce the critical voice into your process. But yeah, sometimes you write chapters out of order and you don't realize it. Sometimes if you're finding that some chapters aren't fitting, it could be that maybe there's a chapter or two that just needs to be cut. Are there any of those chapters that, like right now, you could cut and then it would actually free up the story? So you've got options. There are no right or wrong answers, I think. I mean, I think it happens to everybody. But just do what you can to nip the problem in the bud with as few steps as possible so that you can keep moving forward. That would be my advice. Okay, let's see. Anna says, watch 2 videos by Abby Emmons on editing to get an idea of where the heck to start and what to edit first. Stress paralyzed by my grammar. Long and never-ending sentences are my cup of tea. Well, if that's your cup of tea, then drink it. I think we try to mold ourselves into what we think like that ideal writer should be, but then I think we forget what makes us unique. If the long, never-ending sentences are your thing, maybe that's a hallmark of your writing style. Or maybe it's something you do need to cut back on. I don't know. But what are readers saying about your work? Assuming this is not your first book, do they mind? Because if they're not saying anything, if they don't mind it, if you're not getting 1-star reviews with, this person writes sentences longer than Charles Dickens or longer than Herman Melville, then maybe it's less of an issue than you think it is. That said, there are some commonly accepted practices. There may be some indications that, shorter sentences may be better, but it depends on the pacing of your story as well. So just something to think about. Okay. Amy, okay, I see two different comments. So I'm going to read the first one and then the second one here. I workshopped an intro into a creative nonfiction piece, and the feedback was the first paragraph was boring. This from mostly fiction writers who believe the first line should grab. Thoughts? And to be clear, it is an introduction. Your thoughts on... Well, I think you answered your own question, Amy. It's a bunch of writers giving you that feedback. I would just throw it out the window. Who cares what other writers think? I care about what paying readers think. And to me, that's the ultimate answer. So, workshopping, I have my own thoughts about that. I used to workshop my work, and I just stopped doing it because I realized that the opinions of other writers really don't. It has nothing to do with the actual people that are going to be purchasing my story. So sorry about the background noise there, but that's again, that's an opinion of one. To me, an introduction, sure. I mean, everyone says the first line needs to grab, but who, according to who? You could give me your first paragraph, and maybe it's fine for me. As someone who's not into that. I mean, someone who doesn't normally read what you write. I don't think it matters. Write the first paragraph that you feel conveys what you're trying to convey. Make sure that there are certain, make sure there's no grammar issues or spelling issues. Make sure that it gives people a visual image, and do the best you can. That's my thoughts on workshopping. And I think if you spend a lot of time getting opinions from other writers, you'll go down the wrong path. I think the best thing to do is stay in touch with readers and look at some books in your genre, and look at how other authors are starting those, and then do something similar to that. And you really can never go wrong with if you sing that song. That's just the opinion of one. Okay. All right here. Wylan asks, are there better or worse times a year to publish different kinds of books, like there are with movies? Um, yeah, I would say summer is probably the worst time to publish books. That said, I still publish tons of books in the summer. I do my Beast Mode collections in the summer. But I think that a lot of people on the traditional publishing side would tell you, and I think they're correct, that a lot of people just don't buy books during the summer. Just like a lot of writers don't write books during the summer either, because it's nice outside. Summer, depending on where you live in the world, right? Because our summer's some people's winter, but in the United States, at least, it's nice outside in the summer, and people they're going to be spending time with their families. They're going to be at the beach. They're going to be taking family vacations. And so writing and reading just kind of falls on the back burner. But that said, I've released some books in the summer and they've done really well. So I think it depends on a lot of factors that are just outside of your control that you just don't have any insights into. So for me, I would just publish the book when you're ready to publish it. Because really, when you publish a book, it's not like you've only got one shot. Like, I think a lot of writers think that. I've only got one shot to sell this book, because I got to make sure I publish it at the right time. But really, the book is going to be available for your life plus 70 years if you do your proper planning. And there could be a book that you wrote today that maybe it didn't hit the mark. Maybe no one wants to read books about necromancers today. But then 5 years from now, there's a Netflix special, and all of a sudden everybody wants to read books about necromancers. Well, aren't you glad you published that book now so you can take advantage of it in the future? So for me, I think it's really just a matter of publish the book, then figure out what to do with it. Because if you spend your time waiting on when to publish it, I think you can make a mistake, and it may not make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. All right, so let's see how everybody did here. Oh, everybody's doing great. Okay, so Daniel, 900 words. Rachel T, 211, slow but steady. Yes, indeed. Ty, 12 words. Hit a roadblock in the story, but that's okay. There's those times where you get those 12 words, and but then the next time you'll have 200. So it is what it is. Nicholas, 690. Deborah, 513. Haley, no words this session, but still making progress. PB Jelly, 616. Very nicely done. All right, Michael, 668 words. Hello from Germany. Hello to Germany. And Gene says, been a huge fan and subscriber right now. This is the first time I'm commenting. You've been a huge help. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for commenting and for watching the videos. All right, Rachel T, 455 words. And let's see. David McPherson wrote, edited, and uploaded a new e-zine. Very cool. Okay, another question. Do you use AutoCrit? I only asked because I started using it and was curious. I applied after each chapter. I think I tried AutoCrit at one point. It's interesting. I think they've developed an interesting product. For my purposes, I just didn't find it that terribly helpful for what I was trying to do. It's more, it gives you more feedback on the developmental side of things, which I still think it's probably better than an actual developmental editor personally, but you guys know how I feel about that. But yeah, I think I had tried out AutoCrit. I tried out Grammarly and ProWriting Aid, and those were the two that I kind of gravitated toward. Maybe it's different now. I think with artificial intelligence, I think it's going to continue to get smarter. And I do think that there's going to be a day at some point where authors are using AutoCrit or like an app that's like it, where you can run your manuscript through and get some feedback based on based on certain parameters. Again, I still think the technology has a long way to go, but I do think that, you know, technology could eventually replace a developmental editor. We're not there yet, though. We're not there yet. So I can't really be that helpful to you on AutoCrit. All I can tell you is that I just prefer I prefer just a straight up app that helps me with copy editing, not so much with story and characters, because you kind of have to take the feedback that an app like that gives you with a grain of salt, at least right now while the technology is still evolving. Okay, let's see here. Oh, and I apologize if you hear my chickens in the background. It's super cold out today, so we've got them in a coop in the basement. Okay. Seppuku Art, just want to say hello and thank you. I'm a novice novelist, and I'm curious about your thoughts on Wattpad. Yeah, I think Wattpad is great. I don't have any concerns with Wattpad. It's been around forever at this point. It depends on your genre, though, if you want to use it. I think Wattpad had a stigma, or not. I shouldn't say call it a stigma, but certainly had a reputation for a long time about being YA focused. And I think there's a lot more on Wattpad than just YA, but I think that if you do write YA, that might be something you want to think about. There's Wattpad's not the only game in town. It was for a while, but there's lots of other websites out there that are very similar to it. Comaful is another one. I think Radish Dream is another one. There's lots of sites out there that are like Wattpad, but they're different, and they skew differently toward other audiences. I haven't really used Wattpad that much, just because I haven't found that there's been a whole lot of readers there for me. Even when I published stuff there and tried to push it, just never really got that much traction. So I try to focus on other areas, but give it a shot. Give it a shot and see. The big thing with a platform like that is just making sure you understand how to use it, and use it as a practitioner of how other people who are big on the platform are using it, and stick with it for 3 to 4 months and see what happens. If you get a couple readers, cool. If you don't get the response that you like or that you would have expected, then try something else. Just try to figure out the service that fits you like a glove. Because there's nothing worse than using something that you don't like, because then your content's not really going to be that inspired, and I think readers can sense that. Like for me, YouTube is what fits me like a glove. Like when I come on YouTube, I'm in my element. Like I'm here talking to you guys, answering questions, and inevitably many of you go on to buy my books, and that's the service that I use, right? And what I tell people is to find the service that fits for you like YouTube fits for me. And if that's Wattpad, then cool. All right. Yeah, Wattpad has come a long way in the last few years. I mean, they're definitely into producing all sorts of content now, which is awesome. All right, let's see. Norte Sur, 543 greetings from Colombia, South America. Yeah, awesome. Welcome. All right. Wanjiru, how are you able to write a book that fast? How long do you think about it before you start writing? Yeah, very interesting question. I'm able to write so quickly because I don't want to say I don't care, because that's not the right way to say it and probably gives the wrong perception. But I just want to tell a story, and I just get out of my own way, and I find that I'm able to accomplish so much if I just sit down, stop thinking about, are what people going to like this? Are they not going to like it? And I just write it, and that's why I was able to write, 3,000, 4,000 words over the last few days per day, is because I just enjoy telling a story, and it's fun for me. Like I keep it fun, and I keep challenging myself. So like it was Wednesday or Thursday, I wrote 3,000 words. So I said, okay, the next day, can I write 3,100 words? And then I did. And then the next day, can I write 3,200 words? And I did. And then next thing I knew, I had 10,000 words that I had written in like half a week. So I think the big thing is just clearing out all the myths, focusing on not listening to that self-doubt, not listening to that critical voice. I think that's the first thing. And then when you've figured all that out, then it's just figuring out what the right tools are. So when you do sit down, you get a lot more mileage out of your time. So like normally I like to dictate. I don't do it on these power hours because I just get so many questions on, oh, you're on mute. What are you doing? We can't hear you. But I like to dictate, and that helps me increase the mileage from my writing sessions, because when you dictate, you can actually speak 2 to 3 times faster than if you type. And when I do dishes, I like to dictate my stories. So the 10, 15 minutes it takes me to do dishes, I can speak my stories, and I might have 1,000 words to show for it. And right now I've been experimenting with an app called Pseudo-Write. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it's a AI driven writing app where you can actually type in your work, and then I think once you've got like 400 to 500 words, you click a button called a wormhole, and then it actually generates potential text for you to use. It's not like it writes your whole novel for you. It really just kind of gives you ideas, like for jumping off points. It's called Pseudo-Write, SUDO Write. I'll probably do a review of it at some point on the channel. And it's really interesting, and sometimes it recommends stuff that's like, oh, okay, let's try that. It's fun. I try to keep it fun. So the long scenic route answer to your question, if I could sum it up, is just find ways to eliminate that voice in your head. Just tell it to sit down and shut up. And then once you've done that, find ways to keep the writing fun, and then find the right tools that turn you into a superhuman. And if you can do that, then you can write a book as fast as I write it. And frankly, I'm really not a fast writer. I know that some of you are probably laughing now as I say that. I'm really not a fast writer. There are writers that write circles around me. A lot of the old school pulp writers, they could turn out 2 or 3 novels in a month. And I'm not quite near that yet. So maybe one day I will be. All right, let's see. Wylan, are your books in libraries? How do you get your books into libraries? Yes, my books are in libraries. Ebook, mostly ebooks. I have had, I think, some libraries order my paperbacks. I don't really have any concrete proof of it, but I've heard through the grapevine that some people have seen my books in libraries. The easiest way to get your book into libraries, it's kind of 2 answers. The first answer is ebooks are a lot easier to get into libraries. If you distribute through Draft to Digital or Publish Drive or Smashwords, I think StreetLib as well, they have options that can get you into libraries. So there's Library Direct, there's Baker and Taylor, Gardner's. You can get your book there, and as long as your book is priced correctly, that's the big thing about ebooks, is because libraries, when they buy an ebook, technically there's a limit to how many times they can lend it. So you just want to make sure that your book is priced properly, so that because when a library lends an ebook, when they purchase an ebook, they're gonna, if you've ever used Overdrive, the book gets checked in and out by multiple people. So if you're charging a library the same that you would charge for somebody who buys your book on Amazon, you're probably not doing it right. You probably want to charge a little bit more. So that's ebooks. So that's the answer there. So that's a pretty easy way to get into libraries if they decide they want to carry your book. And then you really just want to have your readers contact libraries in their area to ask to carry your books, if you really want to get in that way. If you want to get your paperbacks into libraries, this is something I'm still exploring. So kind of take my advice with a grain of salt. The best way to do it, first off, is you need to distribute through Ingram Spark. There are some libraries that will buy through Amazon, but most won't. I was actually just talking to someone about this yesterday. Distribute through Ingram Spark, which means you have to purchase your own ISBNs. Well, you should, if you go through Ingram Spark. And then you also have to make sure that your book is priced properly so that people in the trade channels can purchase your book if they want to. So, but they have to be able to get the right discount, because otherwise, if your book is overpriced, they're not going to buy it. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it as well, it's more of a yes and, is to become a member of the Independent Book Publishers Association, IBPA. I think they charge for authors, it's about $140 a year. And they have a lot of different services. But one of the services they offer is marketing assistance. So they actually have a curated list of librarians, and you can actually pay I don't know how much it is you have to pay, but you can pay to get your books listed in library catalogs. And so if your book is something that a librarian would want, they can browse those catalogs and make purchases of your book that way. So that's short answer of how you get your books into libraries. The Alliance of Independent Authors has a book. I think it's called How to Get Your Books into Bookstores and Libraries. You can look that up, and that'll give you some more advice. Okay, let's see. Robert Schwartz, any advice on how to write in another language? I feel like I'm there plot-wise and skill-wise, but feel the last few percentages are somehow missing. Yeah, that's an interesting question, Robert. I don't know. I mean, I would think if you're going to write in another language, I mean, you kind of have to be fluent in the other language, which, it sounds like you don't have that problem. I mean, if I were to write a novel in Spanish, there's just so many cultural things that I would have to know in order to do it. And I think it could be done, though. I mean, I know lots. In fact, there was someone in my community who emailed me last year. It was last year or a year before last, and she was telling me she was very self-conscious about publishing a book in English because it was her second language, and she asked if I would read through it. And I read through like the first chapter, and I couldn't tell. She spoke English better than me, to be honest with you. Her command of the English language was better than mine. So I think get the book in front of some people who are natives in the language and ask them what they think. And if they're giving you thumbs up, then I think you got nothing to worry about. But if the feedback is, hey, maybe you could have said it this way, or I wasn't quite sure what you meant that way, then maybe those are the things you want to focus on in your editing. But kudos to you for being able to do that. That's a phenomenal skill set. All right. Dr. Gandhi, which is wise to write these days, fiction or nonfiction? Well, it depends on what you want to write. There's no wrong answer. If you like to write fiction, write fiction. If you want to write nonfiction, write nonfiction. The only wrong answer, I think, is trying to write to trend. So if books on boats are hot, you all of a sudden want to write books on boats. Or better yet, if you decide that you want to write books on crypto because crypto is what's hot right now, but you have no passion around crypto, I think that is the wrong answer. So write what you're passionate about. Anna says, dictating wouldn't work. My brain to mouth is too slow, and I'm scared of my own voice. Makes my thoughts jumble. I think a lot of people have that criticism, Anna. I think you would be surprised, though. A lot of people, when they think about dictation, they think, well, it has to come out in this smooth, fluid manner. But if you actually listen to people when they dictate, it's actually anything but that. It's actually quite jumbled, and it's slow and it's choppy, and yeah, like I said, it's a muscle you have to learn. It's kind of like riding a bike. Once you learn how to ride a bike, you never forget it. Dictating's kind of the same way. If anybody here ever played, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but there's an old video game I used to play for PlayStation 2 called Devil May Cry 3, and it was insanely impossible game. Like the first several levels, you play it and you play it and you play it and just keep kicking your ass. And then at some point you get your ass kicked so much that you realize, oh wait, now I know how to play this. It's kind of like that with dictation. I know that's a super obscure example, but you get used to it. But if it's your jam, and it is not everyone's jam. So, but I always recommend if you've never tried it and you think it's not your jam, try it once. You might be surprised. Okay, Wanjiro, is tax a hassle if an author markets in foreign markets, Canada, UK, Germany? No, not really. Not really, because you're going to be taxed in your home currency. So if you publish books and you distribute to Canada and Germany and South Africa and Australia, the retailers are going to convert the currency to your home currency before you get paid. And the only taxes you're going to owe are the taxes in your home currency. That, I imagine, is the case for the majority of people who are watching this. But no, you won't have to pay. You won't have to pay taxes in England, for example. However, in England, the only thing you have to think about is pricing your book accordingly because of the value added tax. So in some countries around the world, If you price your book at $4.99 or 4 units and 99 cents, depending on where you're selling it, the reader will pay that, but then they'll also pay an additional tax on top of that. So that's the only thing you really got to think about, but not too difficult. All right. I just found you yesterday. Use Kindle Unlimited with traditional rights reverted. When I returned, I chose to use other vendors. What are your thoughts about KU? Yeah, I actually have a video on KU. I did it like back in 2017, but I think it's still, for the most part, pretty accurate. You can go to my channel and just search for Kindle Unlimited. If I remember, I'll drop a link to it. But just type in is KDP Select worth it, and you'll find it. Here are my thoughts on Kindle Unlimited. I think Kindle Unlimited is not a bad service if you're just getting started and you're trying to build a readership. There is no doubt in my mind, and this has been true for the last 8 years that I've been doing this. There's no doubt in my mind that being in Kindle Unlimited on Amazon gives you better visibility, especially when you launch your book for the first time. There's the evidence, I think, is overwhelmingly clear. I don't think anyone can debate that if you take 2 equal books and one of them is in Kindle Unlimited and one of them is not, and they're amazing books and readers want them, the book that's in Kindle Unlimited is probably going to get better visibility. All right. But herein lies the problem. Kindle Unlimited, KDP Select, it's just one part of the world. Most of the readers are in the United States. And basically, if you commit long-term to Kindle Unlimited, you're basically saying to the rest of the world, I don't really care that you can't buy my books. So it's a fraction of the market. And, it is a tough market. It is a really tough market. There are certain types of writers that do very well in Kindle Unlimited. Those writers tend to be the writers that can write really fast, kind of at the pace that I write. And they tend to stick to one genre, and they tend to have a very rapid release schedule. And that's cool if that's your thing. I can keep up with a lot of the writers in Kindle Unlimited. I just don't like the fact that the majority of the world can't buy my books, because long-term, that's really not a good strategy. So I think I've only got one series in Kindle Unlimited right now, and that's just because I was dipping my toe in the water, just trying to see how things had changed. But for the most part, 98% of my books are not in Kindle Unlimited. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know long-term, that's going to benefit me more, because, other retailers, they might be more difficult to sell books at, but they tend to be a little bit stickier with the algorithms. So like if you can get your book selling really well at like Kobo or Apple, you'll find that the sales tend to be more sustained over a longer period. And you're building a community of readers that is everywhere, and that's more international. So that's my thought. If you want to dip your toe in the water with KU to start, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think you just make sure you have a plan and a date of when you're going to get out, because you don't want to be one of those authors that gets sucked in and then maybe you're making really, really good money, but you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because anything can happen. Amazon could wake up one day and decide that they want to cancel your account, and there goes your publishing career. And I think we can all agree that's what you don't want. Okay, have you heard of iUniverse? If so, what's your opinion about the company? I have not heard of iUniverse, so I can't comment. I would recommend you check out the Alliance of Independent Authors. They have a service. It's called their Self-Publishing Ratings Directory. I'll throw that in the comments. They may be rated there, but the Alliance of Independent Authors, Ally, they do a really, really good job of vetting out services that are reputable for authors. And they do a really good job of calling out the bad guys too. So look them up there and see if you can find them. All right. Devil May Cry love. Yeah, I love Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry 3, it was fantastic. One of my favorite PlayStation 2 games for sure. Okay, Dr. Gandhi, which one do you prefer to edit your manuscript? Per writing aid, Grammarly, or something else? All of the above, Dr. Gandhi. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. So I'm not going to keep pimping my books on here, but I have a book. It's called Advanced Author Editing. You all can check it out if you want. My editing process has evolved over the last 2 years or so. So here's what I do. When I write my books, the first thing I do is I go through and I do self editing. All right, so I go through and usually I write my books in one draft, but so when I say self editing, what I really mean is I just go through and read everything and just look for anything that's noticeably out of place. Look for typos, look for issues. I don't really spend a whole lot of time because when I write as I go, I'm doing most of that editing as I go. But I do that, and then I'll run the manuscript through Microsoft Word editor. It's not the greatest thing, but it'll help you catch a few things. And I only use the spelling and grammar options. I don't use any other crap like consistency or formality or any of that stuff, because that'll just steer you down the wrong path. But I use spelling and grammar on Microsoft Word's editor. Then I'll use Grammarly. So I use the free version of Grammarly. I don't use the paid version. I just don't find that the paid version really adds any value to what a fiction or nonfiction writer would be doing. So I use the free version of Grammarly, and I go through, and Grammarly catches a lot of good stuff. For example, it'll help you catch missing determiners, almost all of your missing determiners. So, missing pronouns, missing that's, things like that. It'll help you catch that, missing articles. And then Grammarly is also pretty good at catching missing words that you might. Sometimes when you look at a sentence, your eye automatically puts a word there even though it's not there. So Grammarly helps with that. There's some things that Grammarly really does a good job with. And then what I do is I run it through Pro Writing Aid. So I actually have the lifetime license of Pro Writing Aid. And there's a few of the checks there that I've enabled, and I'll run it through that because I find that Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid Grammarly does some things really well and some things really poorly. Pro Writing Aid does often some other things really well and some other things really poorly. And when you mix them together, you actually can catch more errors than you would if you only used one of them. All right. Now, there is the issue that sometimes Grammarly will recommend something and Pro Writing Aid will recommend the opposite. That I think is a minor issue that you can usually avoid. So I'll use Pro Writing Aid. Then I use an app called Perfectit. So Perfectit is a proofreading app, and this is actually an app that proofreaders use. And I use Perfectit, and that'll help me catch stuff that Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid won't even think about touching. And Perfectit is a paid app, but I think it's worth the money. And then after Perfectit, I actually have a suite of Microsoft Word macros that I've developed. I actually worked with a programmer to develop a bunch of different Microsoft Word macros that basically help me catch things that none of the above can catch. And then one of those macros is actually a free macro from a gentleman named Paul Beverly. It's called Fredit, F-R-Edit. Look it up sometime. And it's basically like a scripted find and replace. So I can program a bunch of words into that, and it'll help me make sure that I'm using them correctly, those sorts of things. So Microsoft Word, Grammarly, Pro Writing Aid, Microsoft Word macros, Perfectit. And then after that, at that point, I've got a pretty clean manuscript. That's the process that I follow. And I can actually put some numbers to this. Like by following this process, I actually have reduced my edits by about 50% from my editor. It made a gigantic difference in sending stuff to my editor. So makes a very big difference. And I talk about all that in the book that I talked about, which is Advanced Author Editing. Okay, let's see here. All right. Maybe Dreamin'. Just finished my very first ever round of revisions. I've written numerous books, but only put them on the shelves. And I have a mountain of notes after it with no clear direction. I wrote too much. Well, maybe Dreamin', just figure out the first baby steps. A novel is really just a series of baby steps. So figure out the first step, do that, then figure out the next step, do that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in order. But it's kind of like cleaning a messy room, right? There's really no good place to start, but you just got to start by picking up something. And then when you pick up something, put it away, put it in its place, the room is a little bit cleaner. And that'll help you find the way. Okay, Amy Downs, when writing nonfiction and actual people are obscured to protect them, when does it morph to fiction? Yeah, I don't have that. I've never encountered that personally. I only write, fake people. Now, some of the characters that I write are inspired by real people, but I've never taken a real person and put them in a story. I would say it becomes fiction when the stuff that they're doing is no longer real. But again, I haven't encountered that, so I'm not going to be very much help to you in that area. All right, let's see. Oh, and PB, don't apologize for asking questions. I've done so many videos. I don't expect you all to have watched all of them. So let's see here. All right. Yeah, thank you all who attended here. Let me turn this off here. All right, just real quick, for anyone who didn't see it, I just want to let people know I do have a book on estate planning. And I talked about this last month. You can grab your copy of it at authorlevelup.com/estate. And this is basically how to organize your affairs and leave a legacy to help you decide what happens to your books when you're gone. All right. So with that, I'm not seeing any more questions. So just want to thank everybody who attended this month. Hope you liked the new changes. And yeah, a lot of really good stuff. So yeah, have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll be back. Oh, before we do this, I need to let everybody know when the next Power Hour is going to be. Normally, I look this up ahead of time, but let's make sure I share that. All right, the next Power Hour is going to be Saturday, March 5th. Saturday, March 5th, first Saturday of the month. I'll be back, and I'll have some more, hopefully some more updates on artwork and stuff that I'll be using on the channel. All right, so have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Happy writing, and talk to you next time.